the precious Gold Star families. To the moms and dads, sisters and brothers, spouses and friends of the fallen, I am sorry. From the bottom of my own broken heart, I am sorry. Though none of you wanted to be special in this way. When your son walked in and told you he wanted to be a Marine or a Navy corpsman, you were, I suspect, very surprised. Hopefully you were very proud. But then I am sure panic set in as you knew what that could mean. You likely hid it all very well, but the possibilities were never completely out of your minds. Not really, not ever. As it turned out, the unthinkable happened, and when it did, like me, I'm sure, you wondered why God passed this terrible cup to you. Why he thought you were strong enough to shoulder this burden, but as it turned out, you were. You had no choice. People often ask people like us how we're doing. It's hard to answer that question. We've never been through this before. Good, bad, how can you tell? I know where you are in all of this, and there's nothing I can say, nothing anyone can say, to take this unbelievable sadness away from your hearts. There are no words that can make it better, I know that. But what we have are the wonderful memories of our sons, our brothers, our little boys, and the joy of watching them throughout their lives growing into decent and wonderful young men. And we have in our hearts the memories of a young husband, those of you that are spouses, who was a real man, who loved you, but was driven to serve. I think I can accurately say from the moment you were informed of his death, you have struggled endlessly with the question as to whether it was worth it. Worth the life of someone you love so much to be sacrificed even for such a noble cause as our America. Every time I've asked it, I've come up with the same answer. I bet it's the same one you come up with as well. But it came to me the day I stood beside his grave at Arlington, as men exactly like him folded his flag so lovingly. I realized the question was not mine to ask or to answer, that it didn't matter what I thought, only what he thought. The answer was his to give, and he gave it by his actions that day, by the entire life that brought him to the instant he was lost, by joining the Marine Corps to serve his country when we were at war, by fighting hard to be an infantryman out of boot camp, by bravely pulling his share of the load in battles like Fallujah II, by being the best lieutenant he could be so he could better lead his men and get them through the hell he knew was coming in Sangin. When he went down, he was exactly where he wanted to be. He was doing exactly what he wanted to do. He was surrounded by the best men on this earth, his Marines and his doc. And I thank them for caring for my boy after God in his wisdom and for his own purpose took him to eternity. That is the answer to all of my questions. I need nothing else. And because of his loss, I've gotten to know other brave and courageous men like him from his regiment that for some reason stepped forward as he did to serve when none of them had to. They were my son's buddies, men like Donnelly, Tawney, Belk, and Wyatt, now all gone. Others like Parks, Murray, Barone, Schumann, West, Gallegos, and Dorsey, that serve on and are a comfort to the Celtic. Though I've come to realize that I will never get over his loss, that I will forever miss him, and that this sadness will never go away, I take comfort in the fact that neither will my pride. I hope your wonderful sons, now gone, help you find the same answer to the questions I know are in your hearts as well. Listen to him. He will help you through this until one day you are with him again. In closing, I'd like to share with you a poem recited by our closest allies and friends, the British, the Canadians, the Australians, and the New Zealanders. On the day they remember their war dead, they recite this poem. In Britain, their tradition is at the exact moment the guns went silent and World War I ended, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of November, the 11th month, 1918. The entire nation comes to a complete stop. They observe a moment of silence for the over 1 million they lost in the war to end all wars. But before the silence, they all recite a most beautiful poem, the Ode to Remembrance. It goes, they went with songs to the battle, they were young, straight of limb, true of eyes, steady in the glow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. God bless you all. We must never forget them. Semper Fidelis.